Today's episode begins in Craig Saunders' shed, just outside St George in southern Queensland. And when he said, "Oh, do you want to come out and we'll record it in my shed?" I thought, oh, it could either be like a workshop shed or it could be basically a garden shed. What I didn't expect was to be surrounded by more than 150 years of farming machinery. It feels like the perfect place to talk about how agriculture just keeps evolving. Craig Saunders and Jake Moon run very different farming businesses, but both have identified real constraints, researched possible solutions, and introduced technology to improve the way that they use water, chemicals, labour, and information. For Craig, that has meant that he's been developing automation around bankless irrigation. For Jake and the Moonrocks team, it's meant the adoption of an AI-powered green-on-green sprayer that is changing how they manage weeds across their horticultural crops. This is not just a conversation about promoting one piece of technology. It's about farmers using innovation in real businesses, what it's taken to make it work, where it's delivered, and what still remains unsolved. This episode's been made possible in partnership with the Southern Queensland and Northern New South Wales Drought Resilience Adoption and Innovation Hub. The Hub has received funding from the Australian Government's Future Drought Fund, and it's all around helping farmers in their region continue to prepare and innovate to become more resilient in the future. Jake Moon and Craig Saunders, mate, thank you for having us here. I think we probably just need to set the context a little bit for the listeners, because it's, when you said a shed, I pictured in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, a bit bigger than maybe, it's either going to be a workshop or a garden shed, basically. Definitely didn't expect this. So just run me through a bit about, just the spot you've got here.
Well, we're just 5 k's out of St George in a new shed, but what people don't realise, in the new shed is full of old gear. So what we're looking at is history that goes back 150 years of horse-drawn implements, wagons, carriages, and anything associated with sort of the last 100 years, really. So blacksmithing, just a few unique things that my dad had collected over a fair period of time, and we've got it on show here.
It's amazing. One thing I think that I probably hadn't really thought about until you started talking just then is we're obviously talking about innovation, and through the Southern Queensland, Northern New South Wales Drought Hub is how we find ourselves here. But really, like, as we've walked those walls, we've seen the evolution of the handpiece in shearing. We've seen, I'll say, technology and innovation in one way, shape or form on the walls here. Jake, I guess if you think of it through that context, like what agriculture looked like versus what it does now, maybe what would be some of the things that are sitting front of mind for you now?
Oh, just how far it's come and how fast it's moving, probably. More importantly, I think how fast it's moving. I mean, the changes that we've seen in the last 2 years alone, and looking forward to the future, I mean, everything is just changing so rapidly now, and you just have to be at the forefront of it. But yeah, it's also very important to understand where you've come from as well. And it's pretty amazing being in a room like this and seeing a lot of things that have built what agriculture is today, I guess.
It's amazing. What about for you, Craig? Like, when you look around, ag's come a long way, especially in what, the 55 years that your family's been farming here?
Yeah, it has. And I think Jake just touched on something there with technology, and I think his words were something like, you've got to sort of keep up with it. And I think that's a good conversation, because with that comes, how does that new technology fit in our business, or does it fit in our business?
Yeah. And I think, to your point, Jake, like, that change is just happening so rapidly. I think for context, it'd be awesome, Jake, if you can share a little bit about your family farm and Moonrocks. And I know, even just the name, it's one thing to type it into Google. What comes up is probably different to what it looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Oli. So we're a 6th generation family business. We've been in St George for just over 40 years now. We moved here at about 1979, and in that time, the progression through our business in the role of products that we've had is just incredible. Like, we've had rock melons, watermelons, honeydews, we've had broccoli, we've had a series of different things that have led us to where we are now. And to this day, we've sort of hit our straps, I guess, with the products that we've got now. And we typically just are growing onions, garlic, pumpkins and cotton now. And we're pretty happy with where that is. We had a little play around with grapes again about 2 years ago, but thankfully we're out of that again. So that's nice. But we're traditionally, we moved from the melons just to be able to not have a seasonal product, I should say. We wanted a staple product that would be in someone's pantry year round, and that was the difference with the melons. Like we had a lot of good years in the melons, but it was just too hit and miss. And we sort of just diversified into where we are now. And like I said, we're a 6th generation family business. My father and my uncle, they're both directors in the business and still very operationally involved. And myself and my cousin Cameron are coming into the business now, and plan on taking it into the future.
It's exciting. And for you guys, I'll say you're a bit unique in the St George area, being a horticulture business. Yeah. Why do you reckon more businesses haven't seen, I'll say, the success of what you guys are doing and jumped at it?
Oh, well, define success, because, I mean, it's hard to define success in that field, I guess, because most of the time whenever I take people into our pack house, they never even knew that any of this was in St George. They'll just be blown away, you know. And to me, I've been around it my whole life, so it's not really anything different. But we come from horticulture, like we moved from the Lockie Valley, so it was in our blood essentially. And it's not something that you can just, get into. There's too much capital involved to get to sort of a point where we are. And it's just been a slow progression, I guess, to where we are. We've diversified based on our natural capital and the ecosystem that we've created with market access. That's sort of how we got to where we are. It didn't happen overnight. It was just a slow build to, I guess, a good point in time where we are now. But we still have a lot of opportunity. I mean, we talk about it all the time, about the opportunities that we have, and we've got the right things in place to be able to jump on those opportunities, I think. But it's just about getting there slowly. And I guess back to your point is, St George is predominantly a cotton growing area in this irrigation area. It grows really good cotton. So, you bring people into your business and they see what we do and they just go, oh, geez, that looks like a headache. And they're right at times because, it is a headache. But we still grow cotton. It's still a part of what we do. It's a part of our story. I guess it's horses for courses, really. Like, there's a couple of horticulture guys who have come into the area pretty recently. Grapes have been a big part of St George for a lot of years. And more recently with varietal changes and just input pressures, it's sort of on a decline. So it's a great horticulture area. It's just one of those things. It's a hard area to crack, I guess. And it's different to your traditional horticultural areas. We've had to learn how to grow here. It's been hard, and it's like I said, it's been a slow progression to where we are now.
Absolutely. And Craig, for you, I guess, a little bit about your business. Obviously, you guys have been in St George for a while, but it definitely sounds like that innovation and adapting to change has been in the blood of your family. Yeah.
So Mum and Dad arrived here in 1972 and kicked off in the irrigation area, and from there we've bought and leased some other farms, and my son's involved, and son-in-law and daughter on the farm, and so we're 3rd generation, and we're actually, we were just talking earlier there, weren't we, on succession planning and the challenges to all that. Our story is from, I guess my mum and dad kicked off, and the very first year they grew a cotton crop, and Dad always wanted to grow cotton. As a dryland farmer, he'd look over the fence and see the irrigation working, as he'd say it, how spoilt when you don't have to wait for rain. He just felt it was the future, and so he went straight into it, and hard work and hard slog in those early years, and we've grown cotton every year since.
Yeah, wow. How do you guys adapt? Obviously, water being your old man, it's the greatest strength and the opportunity for you guys, also your biggest constraint and challenge.
Yeah, you nailed it. Our most precious resource is people, and second to that is natural resources, water, and water in St George has always been a little bit controversial with our extraction and what we do with it. But I want to assure you that every farmer I know treats it valuably and gets charged a lot for it, and we're really doing our best with it. And that's kicked off a pursuit in our business of we want to grow more cotton with less water. So that's where it all sort of stemmed from. And that probably kicked off nearly 20 years ago when you could actually measure things. That unfortunately for Dad and that earlier generation, they didn't have the technology to measure. Things were pretty basic, and trying to work out where your water was going through the profile, soil profile, was a bit challenging. And now you can measure nearly anything. And from that, we get some direction forward, and we can trial different things to accomplish a better result.
And so when you look at, I'll say the difference, but today, if I was to walk onto your farm, where am I going to start to see the influence of technology and how you're using it across your operation?
I think the first thing you'd notice is, like our agronomist says, there's no one on our farms most of the time. And I mean, we have times of busyness where there's a lot of machinery operating, but you'll see probably more aerials and little orange boxes around the field. The orange boxes represent our brand Agrimation Australia, which we kicked off where we want to control water gates remotely and flow sensors and start engines and do things from our phone. But surprising how quick that wears off, and you just wanted to do it automatically. So now we're doing that. So I guess you'd notice technology.
And so when you look at your system, you say so it went from very much manual to then still manually controlled. Now you just want it to work without you.
Yeah. So if we just go back in time, and so what happened is we had a lady who was sponsored from the DPI, and her job was to see how efficient we were as farmers with our flood irrigation. And she asked me at the start, how do you think you go? And I said, we're pretty good. And look, cut the long story short, she gave me pretty much a report card that said I was a pretty crap irrigator. And I sort of mulled on that for a long time, probably sulked on it for 12 months because I wasn't sure, when you're told something and it's a reality, and it's like, right, I can either do nothing about this or do something, but I didn't know what to do. So that kicked off our more profit for drop, so to speak. So what we wanted to do is, well, how hard can we push this water where we lean it off and get more yield? And from that come a really cool thing, because I always thought that saving water was growing a lesser crop or less yield. But there's a correlation and a balance between using a minimal amount of water that would get you maximum gain. So we're growing our highest yields now simply because we're not waterlogging the crop. So better management practices. Yeah.
And so when you say like she came back objectively and said you're not doing such a good job, what were some of the things that she observed?
Well, what she observed was our water was going through the profile of the soil. So we were irrigating at that stage 18 and 24-hour shifts. So we're literally starting a siphon and it's running for 12 hours. And that's a convenience thing. You'd start at 6 a.m, you'd stop it at 6 p.m, and you get in a routine. No one likes doing siphons in the middle of the night, so we don't. But that comes with a compromise and a cost. And once you can measure that, which is what she was doing, and she worked out that if we could keep that top 600 mil of the soil wet, but not let it get down to a metre, we're on a winner. And then our soil types and in the irrigation area and most soil types local, if you can get that water on and off from 4 to 8 hours, you're in a really magic spot. You can push a lot of water through, get it on and off the field quick and get a good result.
I'm going to come to you in a second, Jake. I want to understand, so for you, Craig, you obviously said you found this out and you go, oh shit, okay, well, do I just do nothing and kind of keep on going, or do I change? But also you've got a farming team around you too. So how did you start to take the team on that journey?
So it's a good point. So first thing comes in your head is, I don't want my staff going out in the middle of the night because I'm not prepared to do that. I'm good to do it for a little bit, but I don't want to do it every night. It's just going to break my permanent staff. They're going to get over it. I'm going to get over it. There's logistic problems. There's a safety issue with night travelling on roads and roofs and just everything else, channels, lots of hazards. So at that point, we didn't have, it was a siphon or nothing. And from there, we went to cane fluming. We tried through the bank pipes. We tried multiple things. But ultimately, when a local designer who had observed a lot of different flood irrigation techniques come up with a bankless or pontoon option for us, and we trialled it, we moved ahead really quick. So the advantage of it is, instead of having lots of control points, so let's call a siphon one control point, we've got a lot less control points, which means now it becomes more economic to digitalise or automate that particular structure that needs to be controlled. So the less control points, the less money it'll cost to set up effectively, and it made it so we hardly even have to be there. So that's our story.
Yeah, wow. Jake, for you, obviously, cotton grower, so I know, you probably have seen and understand a lot of Craig's challenges. For you, though, also in the horticulture, like, you've really looked at all sorts of different problems. The one I guess we're focusing on today is in and around robotics. But just talk to me, about some of the use of tech on your farm, because when we were chatting on the phone yesterday, I just found it genuinely fascinating for you.
Yeah, so obviously two pretty different scopes, but a lot of similarities in there, like we're trying to solve an issue. So a couple of the more important ones that we've probably brought in recently, like I talked to you about, is our Eco Robotics, our ARA sprayer, green on green sprayer. And I mean, horticulture, there's a lot of tech available. It's a worldwide thing, and there's a lot of European tech, not a heap of Australian tech, but the option to adapt it in your business is there. And it's like Craig said before, you got to be open-minded enough to be able to allow these sort of things into your business. And that's what we did with the ARA. About 2 years ago, I saw one working in a field in the UK, and that's sort of where it started. And it's Swiss technology, and it's more recently come into Australia. And the most important thing with it is it's an off-the-shelf product. And that is so important in this day and age, because there is so much tech available, but you have to make sure that you're buying something off the shelf that's going to work, because there's a lot of products that you just buy and all of a sudden you become a developer. You're helping these people try and work through these issues that they've never even thought about before. And that was what stood out with us with the ARA, because there is a lot of options in that green on green sort of area. And it's obviously a pretty big capital investment. There's no doubt about it. But one of the most important things that we're trying to solve in our business at the moment is labour units. And like Craig said, they're two very different scopes, horticulture and cotton, because we are extremely intensive. We can employ between 150 to 200 people at certain times in our business, in our peaks. And we are at a point in time where we have to be able to limit that. We have to make decisions based on removing labour units. And there's so many different avenues that you can look into, but more importantly, the ARA, it's done a lot more than just labour units. It has removed labour units, and it will remove labour units, but it's also given our crop a better chance with yield, because we're using, I don't have any of the percentages because the machine's only 4 months old, but the less pre-emergent herbicide we're using is immense. Like, it's insane how little we're using our self-propelled sprayer anymore, which is just brilliant. We're not trying to be an organic farm by any sense of the means, but we understand what a crop needs to be healthy, and that's really important. And herbicides, blanket spray herbicides on any of our crops, they will stunt it, and they always make it more challenging to grow. And that's the benefiting factor that the ARA has given us, is it's another tool in our inventory, and it's probably one of the most impressive tools we have in our inventory now for growing our crop. We're seeing differences in our crop this year that we've never seen before with weed pressure. We haven't had one mechanical weeder in the field yet, and by mechanical weeder I mean a person. Years gone by, we have spent a fortune on mechanical harvesting. I'm talking like on mechanical weeding. I'm talking looking out into a paddock and seeing over 100 people pulling out weeds. That's the reality of horticulture. And we're not the only ones doing it. It's a problem Australia-wide. And that is the opportunity that this ARA has given us, is to stay on top of our weed pressure. It's picking up weeds that you cannot even see with your own eyes. And we're doing it on a calendar, and we're still learning, but we're working on a calendar day at the moment. So we're trying to get into all of our crops every 7 days just to stay on top of that pressure. And if you can stay on top of that pressure and you can just keep touching these little weeds up, it's going to help us in the future too, because nothing's actually getting to seed. So these weeds, we're going to slowly beat them in the time. But this ARA doesn't just go for horticulture, like we're going to try and develop it in our cotton country as well. And we're small cotton growers, like cotton is an opportunistic crop for us, but it's still a part of our program. So we'll always give it our best shot to grow decent enough cotton. And we'll definitely use our ARA in our cotton country. We'll use it early up before the canopy closes over to really try and pressure the weeds in there. And yeah, we'll see what it does for yield potential. But it is an incredible machine. Like I said, you buy it off the shelf and it does just work. It's the same machine that I saw in the UK 2 years ago. But the benefit with all of this newer technology is that the hardware is all pretty good, but the software just changes so rapidly. And that's the benefit with this machine, is that, yeah, you're spending this capital investment on the hardware, but the algorithms that are detecting these weeds are changing daily. We can train it ourselves. If there's a weed that they haven't seen before, we can bring that into the inventory, train the algorithm, and we can target it for the week coming or next cropping season. I mean, there's already a lot of things that we've worked out this year that will change next year based on having this tool in our kit. But I would predict that the ROI on this thing will probably be within 12 to 18 months, which is pretty amazing to think. And like I said, we were spending a fortune on mechanical weeding, and I mean a fortune. So it's going to completely change how we farm, I think. And what we're seeing with our yield, it's just amazing. Like, the crop is just so healthy. It's at a different stage to where it's ever been before. And it's really exciting. Like, I think we spoke on the phone yesterday that there's not a lot of golden eggs left in agriculture. And it's all about compounding, like all of these compounding things that you can do, that like bringing these 1%ers in. And if you can keep finding them and just getting them to compound and actually understand that, and this is depending on business. I mean, every business is different. Like, we're quite vertically integrated. So it's about finding your strengths. Like, not everyone's going to be vertically integrated, but we have to be. Like, it's a point that we have to sort of, with input costs, we're going to have to be vertically integrated as much as we can. And that works around our market access. We have good market access, but to keep that market access, we might have to vertically integrate in certain areas of our business. And it's just about understanding that ag it's an ecosystem. It's a series of complex areas. You've got harvest, you've got growing the crop, you've got marketing the crop, and it's all well and good to be able to do one part really well, but if you're failing in the next part, it just lets you down. And that's what the ARA has done for us. It's defined a bottleneck in our business, and it will make one part of the business in another section 10 times better. So although I don't have the numbers, like, I'm pretty numbers savvy, like I love actually seeing on paper what this thing's going to do. But yeah, a year from now I probably will, and I'll probably be a lot more excited than I am right now. So yeah.
You seem pretty excited.
Yeah.
Like, talk me through the machine.
Yep.
What kind of areas is it capable of doing? Yeah, how much of your farming you guys actually running under this system?
Yeah, so the ARA 620, it's Swiss technology. It's an ultra high precision sprayer. It's plant by plant AI technology, and it's specifically adapt to them. Like, they've created all of this tech themselves. And like I said, it's been around for a fair while, which we liked. It's not a new product. So they've developed the software. It works. It's been proven. people can back it up. And that's what we really liked about it. So the ARA works across our whole business. Like we can effectively use it across all of our horticultural crops that we use, as well as in cotton too. So we actually, when we bought it, we had a machine that it could go on, but we didn't realise it was going to work as well as it has. So we've actually had to make another capital investment on a new tractor to just live on this thing full time, because we were finding that the tractor that it's on, it's not available anymore because this machine is just running around the clock. And it does. It's essentially been running 5 to 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, basically. Like it very rarely gets a day off because it's working that well. So it's, yeah, like I said, you don't get many golden eggs anymore in agriculture, but, and I'm not calling it a golden egg because we still got a lot to learn with it. And, but it's pretty close, and it's a discussion point in our smoko room, I can tell you. Like everyone's pretty excited about it, and I mean, to be honest with you, Ollie, like we're obviously like we run a bit of a corporate model in our business, so I'm not actually heavily involved in the farming side, but I'll speak on it as best as I can. But you know, from enough of the conversations that I've had sitting in our smoko room to hear what our farming crew are talking about, they're really excited. It's changing how we farm, and it's another tool in our toolkit. And I couldn't recommend them enough. It's a brilliant machine, and it's, like I said, it's so much more than just replacing labour units. It's yield. It's less herbicide, insecticides, fertilisers. And it's just all around giving your soil a better chance at growing a better crop, to be honest, because we just find that, although it's recommended, but a lot of these pre-emergent herbicides were just putting too much stress on the crop. That was stunting growth, and it was just part of how we farmed. Like that was just a reality that we thought we had to come to. But now seeing this technology, it's completely opened up a new door to how we grow. And I think the most important thing about this sort of technology is how exciting it's going to be 2 years from now. You know, AI it's a pretty big talking point, whether it's any industry, and the level of investment in the last 2 years in AI is immense, and it's going to be pretty exciting to see where technology like this goes. The ARA, for example, although it's specifically designed for horticulture at the moment, like there is talk of broadacre machines at 24 metre widths, 36 metre widths. So the option will be there. You know, there's like anything, if there's enough appetite, it will happen. So it's the same thing. There's nothing different. It's just the width. That's, I mean, if you were keen enough, you could run it on a broadacre spectrum, and you could just train it to do whatever you want, basically. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
One question just on, so as you said, the manual weeding, has it been taken out of the equation completely or just limited?
If you look back calendar year, I'd say if I was to walk into a paddock right now on one of our farms, I would predict you'd see between 30 and 40 people sitting in a paddock on their hands and knees weeding. We haven't had one person in a crop this year. And
wow,
like I said, the ROI will be fairly quick. I'm not going to say exactly when, but years gone by, we've spent between $300,000-$400,000 in mechanical weeding. It's a lot of money, and it's you can't justify it anymore. Like it's generally, there becomes a point where a crop becomes commercially viable to not grow it anymore. And if you're not making these improvements, then you're not going to get to that point. So we knew we had an opportunity with what we're doing, but yeah, you have to remain adapt to be able to go with these technologies to allow that crop to still be commercially viable to grow it, because there are certain people who are getting out because they're having those bottlenecks, and you know, it's about identifying these things.
Yeah. Craig, I want to ask you back on your system. So like when it came to developing and automating the bankless system, like what did it require beyond just the capital improvements as well?
Yeah, I guess we've got to think why we did what we did. So Jake mentioned that golden egg, in other words, that really cracking thing that you've just discovered that you can get a really good result out of for your business. So let's call it a profitability. We're becoming more profitable, and here's a word, sustainable, that has been twisted a bit. And the first thing about sustainability is actually what Jake's talking about. It's actually being profitable. If you're not profitable, well, then you're a wind farm or a solar farm. That's fine because you're getting subsidised, but we don't get subsidised. We've actually got to be sustainable. And that's something that's come out is well, we need profit. So that's what really drove us. So in early times when we tried the bankless systems, tried this, getting this water on and off the field quicker, and it really, like my soil, my hydrologist, the lady who measured our water would say, I don't care how you get it on and off, you just got to do it. So if you keep those basic principles in mind, so you need reliability, you need the ability to change water all through the night, which we all don't go much on, okay? And it's achieving that result. So the way you achieve it is you keep trying and you keep going. So for us, it was our biggest thing was software. We talked about this a little bit earlier. We touched on this, and Jake's mentioned it, and I've seen the machine, I've seen that screen that's in the cab. You get a visual in regarding that sprayer. You get a visual, a digital visual on a screen of what's going on, what that machine just sprayed, and it's really nice to be able to see that. And we're the same, so we need our software to say that gate opened, or if it didn't, where it's at, what percentage open or closed, the more info you can get and present that to the person operating it, the better decisions we make. So we put a lot of effort into that.
When you're saying that, it reminds me of like an old manager I had on farm, and it's going, well, actually, yeah, what information do you need to then be able to make an informed decision? So like he would say, can you go and, like, you've gone and done a trough run or whatever, and how are the sheep in paddock 12? And he was never asking just how did the sheep look. It was where's the grass at, how's the water, what's the fences, what's happening in there, etc. Like, is that the same approach you think with this software? It's going, it's got to meet you somewhere.
So you just mentioned multiple things then, and that's what's going through all our minds. I feel like when you're looking at something, whether it's a sprayer, a green on green sprayer, or irrigating, there's just not one thing that's happening. You're observing a lot of things. So we want to be able to present those multiple pieces of information on a platform that's easy to read, that's quick. And I want to tell you, software developers, they love the multiple clicks. They love it. They nearly think they're designing a game, and they just want you hooked and just press. We're like, mate, if we could have just one click, is the go. So we're trying to reduce the amount of clicks, if I can use that. And I believe we've got a really nice platform. It's quite easy to read. It's colourful, and when I say it's colourful, we've put a lot of effort into. Certain colours mean certain things, and you can just quickly gloss over. And sometimes you look at the screen and you might say, oh, gee, I can't even remember what that said. But in your head, it's like, well, I didn't have to because it's green or it's black or whatever colour. Just simple things like that. And it helps the growers, the irrigators, program the correct gates. It helps. So I've learned a lot about myself and about staff and about other irrigators.
Yeah, and keeping things simple.
Yeah, keeping it simple, and it's actually hard to keep it simple.
Yep.
It's really easy to make things complex. That's actually easy to do, but to present something that's easy to not only operate but to look at and observe and get the relevant information out, I've learnt it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I like it. One thing I'd love to ask each of you, and I'll say it's within the context of how you guys are using technology, but just how you make decisions and where you guys are getting your information from. Like, I think, part of this conversation would love for the light bulbs to go for other people, and they can kind of get inside your brains a little bit. But when you're looking at whether, Jake, it's your technology, you with the bankless systems, automation, whatever it might be, what's some of that process that you guys actually go through to go, all right, that's interesting, it's a fad, this could be useful, I want to actually spend more time on it? Where do you look for the information first, and then how do you kind of work through that?
I think it's about leveraging data. We live in a data world now where everything has a way to be measured, and it's about understanding if it is measured, maybe that can be a resource for you to work out what's wrong in a certain area of your business. We run like a lot of, and Craig would be the same. I mean, any agricultural enterprise now runs a series of different apps, whether it be Ag World, John Deere My Operations.
Yes.
We run HR compliance stuff, fuel tanks, like filling up fuel tanks. And I think for us, we have so many great apps, and Craig said it really well before, that it's so easy to make something complex, but it is incredibly difficult to make something simple. And that is such a true statement, because we have all these apps that are great, but none of them are used to their full advantage. Like, we're only using them for a tiny little bit of their capability. And that was a risk that we sort of identified, because we're pretty good with our numbers. Like, we know well enough where we are at a certain point in time, but I knew it could be better with the data that we have available, and through the apps that we use too. And you can look at, I look at a few growers and a few bigger businesses who might have, engaged a software developer and created a one system does all approach. But then I look at the price tag on it, I'm like, oh, well, geez, I probably can't afford that. But for me, it's about understanding that there is actually a capability nowadays to make stuff talk to each other and actually get use from one app that might talk to another app that might send you a dashboard, for everything. And it's something we're working towards in our business at the moment, is actually integrating all of our apps to create enterprise analysis through essentially everything in the business, whether it be fuel tracking, wages, how much it costs someone to do their forklift ticket, that they're all inputs. It's all something that costs money and something that can put a strain on the end goal, for how much that crop has to yield, because, you have to think about that sort of stuff. It's about understanding what's actually available nowadays. And that's a hard thing to do, because so many farmers are so operationally constrained that they might not have time to look at the next big thing, but you have to step outside that comfort zone, I guess, and be prepared to make a change. Because if you don't make a change won't happen. So it's as simple as that, and some people just aren't prepared to do that. And I think that defines the difference between successful people in any industry. If you aren't willing to change, or if you aren't willing to try that thing that you don't think is going to work, maybe it will work. Who knows? Like, I know some pretty good salesmen, but unless you get someone who's going to back their product up, they're few and far between. But they're there. They are there. But those silver bullets, those golden eggs, they're around. Yeah. You just got to go look at. And if you adapt enough to do that, I think there's some pretty good opportunity in it all.
Yeah. And Craig, you've obviously got like an interesting outlook, because you've gone and developed this thing for yourself as well. But from that process that you go through, what does it look like, and how do you make your decisions?
The good thing about being my age is I'm impatient. I know pretty much what I want, and I know what I don't want. And so I can make some pretty quick decisions. And so that's probably good and bad for those that work around me and who's with me. But out of it, I guess for us is, you've got no idea how good it is to be able to change something in software. Like, to be able to have that power, it's actually a little bit addictive. And what I mean is, you imagine anything that you have to do with any type of screen, and now you go, I want to customise this. And you think of where, and our brains don't even go there, because often we can't, we're locked in. So to have that ability to customise something and to set that up so it's friendly to the user, to be able to take on some critique of someone having because we've done a soft launch of our products into the local area with interested farmers, and they give us some good thing about local farmers and friends. They don't mind sharing exactly what they think, which is good. And so you can, and to be able to address the changes and be able to do that, it's quite incredible. So it's quite powerful to be able to do it. The disadvantage is it costs a lot of money. It's hard work. It's explaining exactly what you want. That minimal clicks, for example. It's actually a big job, but it's rewarding because when you achieve it, it's like, mate, we've done that. We've done it for this product. We know now that we can roll that out into some of the others.
One thing that I think, like, or Jake, you especially touched on, and Craig, when I was doing a bit of research on you, like, you obviously went through and got some grants and filled out that. Paperwork can be cumbersome, but also it can be incredibly useful. So when you worked through some of that paperwork, instead of looking at it as just like a cumbersome activity, how did looking at it as an opportunity to kind of get more strategic?
Yes, I'll just talk about the grant. That was a drought resistance grant or resilience, sorry. Drought, yeah, farm, but yeah. And so that went into our concrete structures that controlled the water. So that was sort of a different, that wasn't so much a technology grant. It was, I'll say, some hardware, some concrete gates that assisted us. I feel as farmers, the filling out, that was a big job. I had to get an accountant. So yeah, you just got to accept to get money out of an organisation, you've got to invest money in, and the best thing you can do is partner with someone that's smarter than you and hopefully smarter in that area and work with that person to achieve that result.
I think, well, and we talked about it before, but maybe like, I'll say along those lines, but for you, Jake, obviously going through the Nuffield process, that opportunity to step out of the business for periods of time, but even just that whole process, how's it benefiting you now coming back into the business day to day?
Yeah. It's completely changed my whole outlook on how I do my job, what my career looks like, essentially. It's been a foundation item for me. Like, it's the growth that I've received from that has been immense, and it's different for everyone, you know, like everyone who does an Nuffield will tell you a different part of it. And I've loved the opportunity, like, don't get me wrong, but it's a big task. Does teach you a lot about yourself, teaches you a lot about business, but more importantly, it actually teaches you that you can go out of your business, and that's really important. One thing I tell a lot of people is that, my job role now, I'm a maintenance and engineering manager, so on a daily basis, I'm dealing with a number of people's problems, and there's always a solution. It's just how you look at it. And someone might come to me and I might solve their problem in 30 seconds by just telling them, well, did you try that? And they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't think of that. They're the light bulb moments that I've learnt in my Nuffield, is that everyone has a solution to your problem. The solution to your problem isn't sitting there swearing at it. Like, that's not where you're going to solve it. Where you're going to solve it is going to see some like-minded people or some business owners who might be doing something similar or not even similar. Like I was saying before, like I've learnt stuff from dairy farms, from avocado farmers. Like, it might be a way they treat their labour or they manage labour or a specific software item that they use that you're like, oh, geez, that could probably work in our business. But like I said, everything's been solved. Like, there isn't much anymore that hasn't really been solved or isn't being looked at pretty seriously. It's about getting out and actually just seeing and believing that, yeah, maybe there is an opportunity here, or maybe we can do this to solve our problem. And that's been a foundation item for me. Like, we've got 2 or 3 things that I'm working pretty heavily on that have all stemmed from my Nuffield networks, and they're going to be pretty big things in our business eventually. It's a slow progression, but they'll be big. And like any Nuffield scholar will tell you, like, I mean, I've got a section in my phone with notes from like all the traveling that I've done, and there'd be like 600 dot points there of like these ideas. And there's ideas in there that I'll probably never even get to, but I saw it on the day and I was like, geez, that's a good idea. And you just write stuff down. And I often just go back to that list and I'll just go through it and go, oh, maybe that would work on this day, like for a specific problem that I'm having. A lot of them do work, a lot of them don't. But yeah, it's about just understanding that there's a big wide world out there with people doing similar stuff, whether it be in Kenya, Japan, America, Australia. The answers are out there. You just got to go and find them one way or another.
Absolutely. Have you had that, Craig, like when you were travelling around looking at other businesses, like those aha moments with what you were trying to implement?
Yeah, I have. I like the States for, a lot of our equipment comes from there, so you'll get some ideas. Now, they're different. They farm differently, different systems, but you do get some good. So the Yanks give you some really good tips, and I feel most farmers, most passionate farmers love to share with you what they've done. That's just a natural thing. And if you find a passionate person, passionate people change the world. And it's refreshing and nice to hear someone sharing something with you on their farm. So for sure, I'm more of the old school one-on-one. So and Jake mentioned that, like when he's seeing ideas, I'm pretty sure there's people involved with those ideas. And so with that comes that network of people, and we probably don't do enough of it. We probably don't hang together as much as what we'd like to, and that's something that's made our business a little, we've only just kicked off, but people enjoy you being on their farm. What I mean by that is if you buy agricultural equipment, very rare does the person that you've bought that off come and set it up, assist you. You might get a little bit, but not very often. So we're there on our own, doing our own thing, and mostly we're happy with that, but it doesn't hurt to get a bit of advice on somebody that knows everything about the particular thing you're buying to be able to assist you in setting that up on your farm. And so I guess I value people.
Yeah. And I think you opened with that too. So people were first, and then water's obviously a very close second, but people are what's going to make it possible.
Yeah, you learn so much.
Where do you guys still see the gaps, or maybe what's not being solved with what you guys are currently implementing? And what are your frustrations as we sit here at the end of July 2026? Obviously you guys, you're doing so much and you're so far ahead of a lot of other farmers on this curve, but what are some of the things that are still challenging you, frustrating you?
Well, I'll answer that in a way of, I think one of our biggest challenges as farmers is being able to assess new things or things we don't even, like, let's call it a problem. How do we work through the problem? How do we open-mindedly work through it with technology? How do we crunch the numbers to work out, an ROI on that investment? So what's that depreciating down to over a period of time? What's that cost me a year? Have I gained yield? Have I used less inputs? So you actually have to get into, Jake has talked about this, that serious number crunching. I think as farmers, that's our deficiency. I think we all have, especially farmers my age, and I'll put my hand up, I'm not so good at crunching the numbers, but I sort of am because I force myself to do it. So so to crunch it and to actually go through it, but often you need a bit of help. Not that you can't add up, but it's more, well, what percentage do we think that new item's going to save us? What are we trying to achieve here holistically, and whether it fits our program? So for me, that's still, so let's call that confusion. I feel there's an element of confusion for all farmers of how to progress without going broke. You can go broke being efficient, right? And you can do that by buying this big machine, quite simply put, something that's quite expensive, but spray, I'll use a sprayer as an example, a self-propelled sprayer, but I can spray my whole place in one day, but it costs $1 million. Well, probably not the best $1 million to spend spraying it in one day. You're probably better off getting a sprayer that does it maybe in 3 days or so that's where we're at. There's all these different efficiencies, but we got to pay for the efficiency. Yeah, so to me, that's a challenge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I reckon that's probably the single biggest problem that we are facing in agriculture, is that we're at this world, we've got this world at our feet with all of this different advancements and technology and salesmen who don't even know anything about their own product, you know, like, and they genuinely don't. Like, I've had people come out to home before trying to sell me stuff, and I'll ask them questions that they've never even thought about. That's because I'm living it. Like, I know what I need. I know what I need to solve this problem. I don't think you have it. And they can't tell me if they've got it or not. So Craig was so right about knowing your numbers, and you don't have to know your numbers to a T, but it's an issue because we talk about it all the time. Like, we have a lot of opportunity in our business to take on more market access. How do we get there? Who can tell me what we need to do to get to that point?
Yeah.
Because I can't. I mean, I try, but operationally people get too constrained. And I know what we could do to get there, but how do you do that without going broke? Because we don't have corporate backing or anything like that. You know, we're just a family farm poking along, doing what we do. We're doing it out of legacy more than anything, doing it because we love it. And how do you make those decisions? And I'm working through that. Like, I touched on it a bit about what we're doing with our apps and stuff, and sort of understanding enterprise analysis, because that live data, it gives you a tool to be able to make a lot of decisions. But we have so many complexities in our business, whether it be planning the crop, managing labour, and so much comes with managing labour, you know, or processing it, transport, all of those things. How do you put a number on where you spend your money next? Because we've got this far in doing it. Like, every year you sort of have a new capital investment, where it might be storage or it might be this eco robotics, you know. But how do you make the decision on which item you need the most at that specific time? Because banks are pretty good, you know. You come to them with a pretty good business case about something you want, and if it is genuinely going to make an impact. But how do you identify what that is? And to me, it's about understanding your business, understanding your opportunities, understanding where you want to be 10 years down the track. I think that's super important, because have a plan, you know. Don't just get to this point and go, oh shit, here we go. We have to spend this money now, because if we don't, we're going to go broke. So damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know. And it's about having a strategic plan on how to get somewhere. If someone out there is listening to this and can sell me that, like, go yard us, but I don't think they can.
And the thing that I was thinking, as both of you were talking, it probably just hit me there. It's like, it's an evolution, and it's a constant evolution that's built on change and decision making. And as you said earlier, Jake, it's like, yeah, are there golden eggs or silver bullets? Maybe, and they're out there. But at the end of the day, like, this is just, you got to keep evolving, not waiting for something totally revolutionary to just appear and change your business like that.
Yeah.
Maybe one last question for you both. Over the next 5 years, what's getting you most excited? What's possible? Like, I think with that theme of, like, this is all about building better businesses, more resilient businesses, capitalising in the good times but managing in the tougher times. What's on the horizon that you guys are getting excited about that's going to help you run better businesses?
Well, I think it's going to be more local access. So what I mean by that is, out of this word we've been talking about today, robotics, okay? And we're talking about a sprayer. I think I think WA has just announced there's going to be a fertiliser, some type of plant over there that's been announced. Well, that's something new. We're actually building something that's going to benefit farmers for the future. I feel with AI, and I'm going to use that word robotics, I sort of feel we're on the cusp of getting factories back into our country. You never know, we might even get a car company back again. And why is that? Because we're not going to have the labour. It's robots building cars, not people. So where does that lead for the future? So I'm probably talking 10 years here. I feel there's going to be more opportunity with products that suit us, because they'll be it'll be affordable to have this local. So we've got a factory in Shepparton, and there's a lot of people involved in that. Oh, well, a lot for our little business. But the biggest element is labour, and Jake's referring to that with his business. And if we can minimise that into an intelligence, so people that are working for us get a role of responsibility, and that's where I feel where we're heading. So on our farm, we're moving away from the person pulling the weeds. We're now moving to a place where someone can manage irrigation, for example, or be able to control the screen in the tractor that gets it to drive accurately and to do what tasks is required. So technology still excites me, I guess. In the next 5 years, I feel we'll keep moving. This green-on-green camera technology will come into cotton. I'm looking forward to that. What Jake's experiencing, we'll experience just for, and obviously I'm going to do the plug with water savings and irrigation, to finally have control on gates that we've never had before. I feel we're going to achieve some good results in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think the single biggest opportunity, in my opinion, and this goes for agriculture as a whole, is that people have to eat. That's the opportunity for us, and that's the opportunity that we can see. And if you're willing enough to push through the shit, the compliance, the investments, all of that, there is an opportunity, and that's super important. We also live in a pretty unique time and place where access to traceability and our story is a real chance now. People want to see where their food's coming from, and we have to jump on that bandwagon somehow. Like there's people who are doing it, like who are touching on it, but how can we get people better educated to understand what we do? That's super important. And
that's true.
There's so many people who are dabbling in this space. Like, a lot of people who I've dealt with in Nuffield, like they're studying topics on this sort of stuff. I think that's super important because the opportunity is that we have to eat, we have to be clothed. You can't do that without farmers. Like, there's only so much robots can do, At the end of the day, there has to be some kind of human interaction in there because robots don't need food to eat. So that's essentially how it works. So the opportunities we have to eat, and how do we adapt technology to make sure that keeps happening? Because technology is the exciting factor of that. That's the tool to get us there. That to me is probably the biggest thing. I think that's what keeps us going. Like it's probably what keeps agriculture going, is that we know people have to eat, and domestically, like our market, it's we want to see Australian products, and it gets back to what Craig was saying about building. Maybe we might see a car again in Australia. Like, people want Australian products. That's the reality of it, and that's the opportunity. Like, having Australian products is the opportunity, whether it be agriculture, whether it be warehousing, any of that sort of stuff. That's the opportunity as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, great. Well, Craig and Jake, thank you so much for sitting down today. I think it's been really interesting to understand a little bit more about each of your businesses, how you guys have looked at a challenge within it, but how you guys are working forward to address it for yourselves and in turn for other farmers. And I think the thing that, probably hits me, it's evolution, not a revolution, but also too, it's not about taking people's jobs away. It's going, well, actually labour's a key constraint, as you guys have identified, and so many other people know. It's going, and I think to touch on your point at the end, Craig, it's going that intelligence part. Agriculture still needs more people, but it's the smart and talented and ambitious people that can help us level up to get to where we need to go. And I think you guys are, incredible with what you're doing. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That was great.
Oh, you're welcome.